We're going from real estate to rejuvenation. We're going to cover a lot of topics, but Manny's a real estate investor, an entrepreneur, and a business owner as well. And we're going to dive into that and see how we can apply some of his business background into real estate as well, and vice versa. And we'll have lots to learn here today. So thanks for coming on here, Manny.
No problem, Tom. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jeremy and I have been waiting for this one, so looking forward to it.
No, me too.
So I guess to start out with, how do you actually start this entrepreneurship journey? Like, how did you get into this? Were you always business minded, or were you always thinking about buying real estate? Like, what came first?
No, man, I was not. So it's funny. So we'll go back in time here, 2018. I graduated from Dalhousie University. I'm a registered nurse by trade. That's my degree. So I started working as a nurse. So let's say I started working in August. So by September, I realized there's no way I'm doing this until I'm 65.
Oh
You
no.
know, it's like, it's a fine job and all, but I just didn't foresee myself just doing this for, decades and decades. So at that point I made a pivot, so of course, like, I still continue to nurse, and I still work part-time to this day. But before I even got into, business ownership and real estate, I tried to, I dabbled in day trading. I don't know
Oh
if you
no
guys,
way.
ever dabble in that, man. It's honestly, if unless you take it very seriously, it's essentially gambling, and that's what I was doing. To be honest with you, it was just gambling. Um, unfortunately, my very first trade, I was successful. It was a hit. I made like 10,000 bucks in like 10 minutes, and I'm like, this is
Wow.
unbelievable. I'm gonna be a millionaire next week. Fast forward 1 week, I lost that 10,000 bucks and probably 10,000 more. It
Oh
was just
jeez.
immediately in the hole 10 grand, and that's when I realized I don't have the kind of cash to sustain this. And honestly, I have a couple of friends that trade. They do it responsibly. They took the time to educate themselves. I'm talking like a year's worth of education. It's not something you can watch a couple of YouTube videos and just dive into it. It's just something you have to, a lot of psychological stuff, a lot to it. And I didn't really care to learn. I
Hmm.
wasn't passionate about it. But at that same time, my mom and my dad, they bought one piece of real estate outside of their house, just a rental property. Um, and the rationale being, my mom has, a long-term generational wealth in her head that she doesn't even realize it. But she wanted, when she passed away, many, many years from now, she wanted to leave one house for me, one house for my brother. That's really cool of her, and I always applauded that. But it made me think. I'm like, why don't start buying some real estate? And that's how it started. That's the beginning of kind of this journey. I went and I bought a duplex here in Halifax. That's where I live, Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Hmm.
Um, Kind of house hacked it. Lived in one, rent out the other. Then I moved out of that side, and I went and I bought a personal residence with my girlfriend, then wife now. So we just had a duplex, but then it kind of snowballed from there. That's kind of right around the time where I started educating myself more and more about real estate, because I had run out of money. I'm like, how do I buy more? So that's when I learned about raising capital. I was able to buy a couple of triplexes, a fourplex, sixplex, learned about the BRRRR process. And it was a good time to be doing all of this, like
Hmm.
pre-COVID slash
Yeah, we
COVID.
kept going up.
Everything was going up, just year over year, 10% appreciation without doing anything. You could buy something in January and refinance it in the summertime by doing nothing. So I capitalized on that for sure. And then, I enjoyed that. I was able to build up a little portfolio, and then I wanted to kind of start doing bigger things. And that's when I joined Wealth Genius. That's when I joined Wealth Genius. Alfonso Quadra came to Halifax, and I learned at that time he had a U.S. investing stream, and I joined. And in fact, I was the very first student to be a U.S. investing student. Thomas Larini was my coach. Yeah, so I did my program that in there. I finished it, and then I started buying some U.S. properties. Thomas was one of my partners. We had other partners as well. We were able to buy almost, yeah, actually, exactly 100 units in Cleveland. A 24 unit and two 38 unit buildings,
Impressive.
within about a year. Yeah, it was a good year. And that's pretty much where, like, the real estate stuff kind of took a pause. Working on stabilizing those buildings. On the personal side, I sold off a couple of other buildings. Um, but at this stage, this is kind of like the turning point in my life when I went from kind of just real estate focused to just business focused as well. I realized, and I'm sure you guys are aware as well, real estate investing, it's a long-term game. You know, you're going to build wealth over time. You're guaranteed to be a millionaire. It'll just take some time, you know. There are ways to get active income through real estate. Obviously, you can flip, wholesale, become a realtor, mortgage broker, all that stuff. But I just didn't have a big passion in that, in any of those, and I didn't see that for myself. So I wanted to start a business. I didn't know what though, so that was the thing. I was kind of just stuck in that little rut there for a little while, and then something funny happened last actually about a year ago, last November. My wife told me how much she pays when she goes and gets some Botox. She'll go, she's there for like 10, 15 minutes, come back looking beautiful as ever. She'll drop $300. I'm like, $300? You're there for
Oh,
10
geez.
minutes? 10, 15 minutes, $300? I'm like, why don't we do this? Why don't we create our own business like this? I didn't even know any of the logistics. I just know the girl that she went and saw was a nurse. And we're
Hmm.
both nurses. So at that time, I did some research. And by the way, she was open to it. That was like the biggest thing. I always have these crazy ideas, and she'll turn me down right away if she thinks it's stupid.
She
But the
keeps you
fact
grounded.
that, yeah, but the fact that she didn't say no, made me push forward. And in Nova Scotia, where I live, there are obviously some legalities to it. It can't just be a nurse. You have to have a medical director. So that medical director can either be a physician or it can be a nurse practitioner.
Hmm.
That's perfect because one of Michelle, my wife's best friends, is a nurse practitioner. So I gave the husband of Stephanie, the nurse practitioner, a call, and I said, "Man, let's push these ladies to take the course. Let's start a business." So he did that on his end. He convinced Stephanie. Michelle was already down. They took the course, and that's when the idea really kind of started to grow and grow. And over that winter, we came up with a name, we came up with some ideas, and that was the birth of Youth Bar Medical Aesthetics. We have two married couples are the owners, me and my wife, and the other married couple. And yeah, we offer Botox, filler, IV hydration therapy, micro other skincare things. We don't have to get into the logistics of all those. We can talk
Hmm.
about those later. But yeah, that's how it started. We started our own business. Um, yeah, and the main reason is just because I just saw that people are paying good money for these services. Like none of these are cheap. The clientele usually have money, and the clientele that don't have money, people make this a priority. If you think about modern times, women especially, there's a lot of pressure to look good and to look younger longer.
Hmm.
So this industry, I did a lot of research before we just kind of dived into this, obviously, but it's growing every single year annually, almost 10% um, across the board. There's more people getting into it. Even men are getting into it a lot as well too. So that's a kind of a population that's kind of untapped, to be honest with you. Like we don't do a lot of
Right.
marketing towards men, but like they're still flowing in. So yeah, we launched the business officially just this past April. So we've only been in operation about 6, 7 months now, man. But it's going well. I've learned a lot along the way, but yeah, we can get into those. That's a long-winded way how I got from starting as a nurse to buying duplexes to apartments to owning my own business.
Holy cow. Yeah, no, that sounds like quite the journey, eh? And I'm wondering, in making this pivot from real estate to medical aesthetics, what were some business lessons that you were able to apply from real estate investing and bring that over to your youth bar? Was there anything significant that stood out to you that you learned along the way? Because you casually just dropped the fact that you were able to acquire over 100 units in Cleveland. I'm sure you learned some stuff over there. They're able to apply here in Halifax.
Yeah, big time. And in fact, just before the call, you touched on it significantly, but it's about the team. But it's almost more important. So how we were operating early on, it was just kind of Michelle and Stephanie. They were the only injectors. I was the one handling all of the marketing, all of like the ads. Reaching out to all of our leads, booking people, the follow ups. It was all me, and it took a lot of my time. And then the other husband. behind me. He did a lot of like the back end bookkeeping and payroll and stuff, which I appreciated that significantly. But I realized along the way, like what I was doing was taking a lot of my time, calling people so much,
Hmm.
texting them. Like I had a very, very thorough text follow-up process, but like it would take me a long time. I had an amazing funnel, but like I'm texting and calling all the time at any time of day. So I realized this is it's very important, but it's not a high income skill. You know what I mean? Anybody can call or text. So when I hired our first VA to kind of take over like the texting and calling, that was a big thing. And we just recently hired a director of marketing and operations.
Oh
So
wow.
this lady, she worked for another local aesthetics company. She helped them grow from 2 units, so two locations, to 11 locations in 4 years. So I realized quickly this is a very high value and high skill person that I'd like to have a part of our team, and I made sure to get her on board. I realized what happened on her end, why she wanted to leave the other place in the first place, and I'll make sure that doesn't happen to her here. But I feel like she's gonna be very crucial into the next stage of Youth Bar, going from one location to many. In fact, we're already opening up our second location here early in the new year, but
Oh,
it'll allow us to go from, let's say, two locations in 2026 to who knows how many within the next 4 to 5 years. But yeah, so your team is everything, and on top of this director that we brought on, we actually hired two more nurse injectors on the team. So it's not just Stephanie and Michelle. We have Grace and Jenna as well. So we have four injectors, one marketing and operations director, and then there's myself. That does a lot. But yeah, you have to have a very solid team because they're the ones that are gonna help you grow. I don't inject. I don't know how to do Botox. I know very little about actually Botox filler. I've learned a little bit just from my interactions with the ladies over the last few months, but I'm not an expert by any means. So being able to have, one of the co-owners, obviously my wife and Stephanie, they're the ones that kind of handle the intricacies of that kind of stuff. But even like marketing, I've never taken a marketing degree. I've learned a lot, mind you. There's a lot of information on that kind of stuff online via YouTube and podcasts. So I was able to take a lot of that and implement it in the first few months. But hiring somebody that's better at it than me moving forward allows me to take a step back and now kind of look at the bigger picture. It's like kind of the saying, work on the business versus in the business.
mhm.
This is allowing me to take a step back, no longer work in the business, in the weeds, and work on the business. Because obviously there's some things, as an owner and CEO that I can do that nobody else on the team can do. It's like my vision. I told the team, it's like this. It might sound crazy, but I'd like us to get to a $100 million valuation within the next 5 to 10 years. Sounds crazy, but I think it's very doable in the space. If you kind of just reverse engineer that 100 million, go back. It's like step by step. What do we have to do to get there? And it's very easy. Okay, easy is not the right word, but there's a clear path to be able to do that if you can kind of execute along the way. Um, and there's lots of PE firms that are actively buying up, med spa chains like this. So
Mhm.
we're just kind of building out our ecosystem to be the perfect business for a private equity company or firm to come and buy in the next 5, 10 years.
Wow. So it really sounds like it's the who, not the how in terms of hiring. I just want to touch on that.
Yes, it
That's
is.
I really like that book, and I know that's definitely critical. Who you hire can make you sink or swim. So I'm curious, was it hard to for you to let go, or it's because it sounds like you are the visionary. It's not really like it's super in the details. Was that easy for you to let someone else kind of take charge in terms of like say marketing or any of those things? What was your mindset at that point, or did you have to change anything of your thoughts or beliefs?
Yeah, it was hard, man, to be honest with you. So there's a concept here in business that I've learned a lot. It's the concept of speed to lead. As soon as a lead comes in, I'm calling them instantly. Like I have it. We have some cool automation set up on the back end. So as soon as I get a lead, I get a notification and I'm able to call them like instantly. So, if a lead comes in and I call them within the first like 3 seconds, They answer the phone. I know they're going to answer the phone. You know, you just clicked send on that lead form that we have, so the phone's in your hand, and then immediately a phone call comes in. You answer the phone. It's me trying to book you into an appointment. Nobody else, in my opinion, is going to care enough about speed to lead than me. I can outsource this to other people, but they might think to themselves, oh, if I don't answer within the first 3 seconds versus if I wait 30 seconds or if I wait a minute or two, they might not think that makes a big difference, but it does. The stats show, after a minute, it goes down significantly. After 5 minutes, it goes down significantly. And then after an hour, it's pretty much they're still there, obviously, but it's like it goes down a lot. So like you want to get them as soon as possible. And if I could just
Mhm.
even just show you the stats, man, the people that I can get a hold of within the first 10 seconds, I have like a 95% conversion rate. I get them booked in. There's no doubt. Um, so to answer your question though, it's just like it was hard for me to let that go because I let a VA kind of handle that, and I tell her the importance of speed to lead. So like I hope to answer it as fast as I ever would, but you never know, right? But and even like the marketing aspect of things, like I that was actually easier for me to let go, to be honest with you, because I literally had just one very good ad that was working, honestly, for like 6 months, and it still works. It's crazy, but I didn't have really the creativity to come up with other ones that I was confident in trying. Um, so now having this other lady kind of come over and take over that, I appreciate that because then she can kind of just throw things at the wall. I told her, don't hesitate to do some trial and error. Just let them fly. I'm very lenient with our ad spend. I don't mind dropping some coin on marketing. So just kind of let it fly, and whatever sticks sticks, and if it doesn't, scrap it early and just let's try again. Yeah, like she's developing like a 6 to 12 month marketing plan for us. So we'll have automated ads going out all the time, like clockwork. So that's something that I had a hard time kind of implementing and tracking. I'm not the most tech savvy guy. I'll be upfront. So the fact that she can kind of do that and show us the data about which ads are doing well, why they're doing well, the click through rate, the cost per lead, all that kind of stuff, I think it's amazing. So yeah, letting go of certain things like that, I have no problem. You know, social media, my wife handles most of the social media. She makes all of the Instagram posts. I think, letting go of that might be a little hard. So like she's still going to continue to do that because she enjoys it. Why let go of things that you enjoy? And we'll just let the director of marketing and ops just kind of take her photos or give my wife ideas. My wife will make them, give them back to her. She'll make tweaks and then post it. But yeah, no, letting go of certain things like that, I don't mind. It's just like those little details, like the speed to lead and making sure the follow up processes are just kind of pristine and they're being followed. It's somewhat difficult, but you can kind of keep a close eye. And I think there's actually ways to even track the speed to lead stuff. Like
With metrics. Yeah.
yeah, there's some clear metrics and like some phone apps that'll show it's like, oh, this call came in, it was answered at this time, or like if this lead came in, I can always see when a lead came in, but I can also see when the phone call was made. So it's like I can, if I really cared to check that close and micromanage, I could check, but I haven't at this point because like I don't really see the need. But maybe at some point down the line, if there's not good leads coming, I'll look closer.
Mm. To tie this really quickly back into real estate, I know Jeremy is fond of speed and efficiency, right, Jeremy? Because especially with you and your clients, you're always go, go, go. When with your flips, you're always go, go, go as well. Time is money, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. No, I
There's a bit of a
was
time delay.
no, I think I was just listening for what you're saying there, but yeah, honestly, it comes down to efficiency. Efficiency is key. Even being part of like the Remax brokerage as a realtor, we had one of the guys from head office in last year, and he was talking about just a speed and efficiency of answering the phone calls, or basically when a lead comes in, and they basically said that like if you people expect you to answer within 15 seconds. I think this what they when they put a thing in there, they want you to answer within 15 seconds. So it's huge. Obviously, you're so built into this right now where you're the main guy, but obviously growing to $100 million evaluation, that's going to be multiple units. And I mean, you're gonna pretty much have to do a call center at that point, but um, that's kind of cool. I mean, you basically taking you mentioned you have you mentioned about 100 units as a realtor. I not as a realtor, but as a real estate investor.
Correct.
100
Yep.
plus units. So, I mean, that calls alone for obviously just efficiency and managing it, right? Because these are stuff that's not just in your local area. Like me and Tom, well, Tom has stuff mostly, I guess, now in Cleveland and Detroit, but my whole portfolio is based in Windsor. And where basically mine is I'm boots on the ground, kind of like where you're at right now with your company. I'm able to efficiently go to where I need to be at and handle anything in local wise. But you've kind of stretched that when you went from basically, as you mentioned, Nova Scotia to um, Cleveland and had to grow that portfolio and grow that business side. So you're just starting to basically, I guess what you're saying is you're kind of doing a lot of these fill in the blanks. Do you plan on kind of continuing with the real estate side, or is that more of like a backseat hold and trying to focus in on like, I guess who would that be? Like a Sam Zell or a Ray Dalio, where you start off as an investor and kind of start building your businesses and getting your fortune that way?
That's a good question. I love the Sam Zell reference. I didn't think people know about him, man. I love his book. Have you read his book?
I have not, but I've heard it's
Neither
very
have I.
good.
Very good, man. Very, very, very good. One of my favorites. I listened to the audio version when I was on my honeymoon. I listen to it almost every year. Um,
Really? Can you tell us a little bit about what the book's about?
oh,
Or
it's
just a
just
quick spark notes, maybe.
sure, man. It's about his life, right? So Sam, he's lived quite the life. R.I.P. By the way, I think he passed away a year or two
Hmm.
ago. But he talks just about just like when he was young. You know what? Before I get into the book, I'll say one thing about the book actually, Tom. He talks
Sure.
about just like your risk. Your ability to take risk. Sam takes risk, man. Calculated risk, but he's like, there's no way you're gonna be, elite, top of the top without taking risk. And
Right.
it's just kind of like, the normal 9 to 5 employee. They don't just, they want to just live a very comfortable life. They don't want to take that risk, right? So they'll never be super rich. But yes, I really, you know what? That just reminds me. I got to reread that book. I don't think I've read it yet this year. um, but to answer your question there, Jeremy, about is real estate taking a backseat temporarily? The whole point of this is to create some significant active income to funnel back into real estate. I don't want to have cash just to have cash. I want to have cash to buy real estate. I was kind of getting annoyed with the process of always raising capital. That, to be
Mm,
honest with you, it's like I would love to just be able to funnel money into my own deals, or give my cash to a lot of these investors that are working so hard to find these amazing deals. People always need money. So if I can chuck, here's a quarter mil, here's half a mil here you go. And then I'll just let them work their asses off on their end to, take the deal to completion. I'd appreciate that and just let my money grow that way. Um, and even just like, you see lots of people, even just in our group here, well, genius, they need uh, some bank statements to show like they have X amount of cash, or they need somebody with a high net worth to help them qualify for loans, and you can kind of get equity in their deals that way. So there are many ways you can kind of dabble into real estate if you just have a bunch of cash. Um, and I just found a lot of business owners have cash. That's kind of the way it is. So if I could scale up and grow a business of some serious size, and I was just rich as hell that way, and then now I can funnel it into real estate. Um, so yeah, it all flows back to real estate. I love real estate. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, especially in a world where the dollar is being devalued. Assets will always rise to the top. So business is one asset, real estate's another asset. So they'll go hand in hand. But in the very short term, I would say, yeah, business is taking the vast majority of my attention. You know, there are still real estate deals that kind of come my way just from years of being in the space. I had a guy 2 weeks ago gave me a call here. There's like He's an old fella. I think he's, pushing 70 and he wants to retire and he has like $20 million worth of real estate in like, our
Wow.
downtown core and he wants to sell it. So
Wow.
it's like, okay, how do I say no to this? I have to I have to try
Hmm.
to figure out if this is a reasonable path forward for me to kind of be a part of. So I'm meeting him tomorrow morning. So I'll never say no to that, even if I don't buy it. If I just wholesale to a buddy of mine, um, or even just pass it along to a friend of mine, and maybe I'll get a small piece of the pie just because I sourced the deal, or I put a little cash in it. But yeah, no, they'll always work together. Real estate and business, I think they're just two peas in a pod.
Definitely. I I'm just curious to touch on one more time the capital raising. You said you kind of got tired of it or got annoyed with it. What were some of the difficulties that you had, or what were the things you were doing to actually raise capital in the first place? Because I think a lot of times, like you just touched on Wealth Genius, and Jeremy's in that with me too. It's a lot of active investors looking for money, and then you're not going to find money in those groups. So it does sound like you went elsewhere. You were talking to business owners and and things like that. But what should people do in terms of raising capital, and what are some things to maybe avoid?
Yeah, man, raising capital, it's a significant skill. Honestly, it's a sales skill. And if I actually knew what I know now from starting Youth Bar and understanding sales, marketing, negotiation, and how to talk to people, raising capital would be a whole lot easier, to be honest with you. I learned more about those skills through my current business than I ever did through actual real estate. But to get back to your main question, it's just, who you raise capital from is so important, man. You don't want to raise money from people where, that 50 to 100K is like, it's very detrimental to them.
Yeah.
If it's like their last 50 to 100K or they need it back in a very specific timeline, because real estate, as secure as of an investment it is, there's still risk involved. Any investment where there's, potential 10, 20% returns or even more, there's going to be risk, right? So of course everybody um, says, I'll give you this cash, but when something goes wrong, can they actually handle not getting that money back immediately? Or worst case scenario, if they lose a little bit of cash, like, of course, on the operating side, you want to do everything you can to prevent that. We de-risk
Of
everything
course,
as
of course.
investors. We stress test things, but things happen. Stuff happens. That's out of your control. Um, and yeah, I've just kind of it was getting frustrating, dealing with those kind of people that just were so tight on cash. The best people that I've raised money from, rich people, people that already had cash, to be honest with you, because they don't care. They're making 50 to 100K a month. That 100K they just gave you, they're gonna make in a month or two. And they don't need it back immediately. Or just, yeah, very high net worth individuals. Those are the people you want to raise money from. That's why there's like the whole um, raising money from accredited investors thing is a thing. There's reasons for it. I used to think that it was kind of silly. I'm like, oh, it's just it only allows rich people to get richer and poor people can't participate. But now I understand why they're maybe not meant to participate. Because yeah, because like if they lose that 100K, I know um, most people, if you have like a normal job, unless you have like significant savings, if you lose 100K, it's devastating. It can be alter your life significantly. So you have to be careful who you raise from money from. I think it's a big takeaway. But yeah, I also just didn't love the process. I didn't love raising capital. You have to kind of know what you love. There's many things you can do in real estate. Finding the deal, underwriting the deal, all this stuff, getting financing, raising the cash for it. You have to figure out what part of the wheel that you like to be a part of. And I just wasn't a huge fan of the raising capital aspect of things. Except, I think there's some parts to raising capital where I could like it.
Okay.
If it's a big project, I got skin in the game. I'm putting big money in it. I'm talking to other people that have a lot of cash that are interested. Those are the kind of conversations. That's the kind of capital raising I'd rather be a part of. But yeah, raising 100 grand here, 100 grand here, 100 grand here from just a bunch of random people, just to kind of put it together. It's just a pain in the butt. And then even just the investor communications aspect of things. You have to keep these people up to date. It's a lot of work. So yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't a huge fan, but it's important and it's something that I'm sure I'll do again in the future. But like I said, in a different way. I'm not going to be raising capital from just kind of mom and pop style people, more so institutional level, people that have cash, people that want to invest in big deals, deals that I want to invest in myself. Those are the bigger deals I'd like to be a part of.
Makes sense. That's a conversation that Tom and I have been having for quite a bit because um, we have this, I guess, almost every podcast we've done now, someone brings up basically the topic, and it's something I don't do myself. So my portfolio is like I own 100% of everything I have. I go to sleep like a baby knowing that if I fuck up tomorrow, it's on me. I'm gonna be pissed at myself, but it allows me to work more efficiently. It allows me to work a little bit better. And I don't know, maybe it's just the PTSD from being in the Windsor space for so long, in the sense of like we've had nothing but like horror stories since I've started like 10 years ago as pretty much as a realtor. We've had like pretty much guru after guru raise all these money. And then every other year we see these like the rise and fall pretty much, where investors lose tens of thousands, if not hundreds, if not millions of dollars. So I've always gotten PTSD because I was like, oh man, this is such a great idea. Like I'm seeing all these people ready to, especially when the markets was booming, people were hand over fist, like I'll give you money, right? Because it's real estate can't fail until it does. And then
Mhm.
we saw the same thing happen about 2 years ago, where we noticed the market start to shift and change, and then it's no longer, and as you mentioned too, there's a lot of people that probably shouldn't be raising capital. I see it's not just in one particular group or stuff like that, but I get a lot of people message me going, I'm brand new. I'm going to source. I'm like, so do you have pre-approvals? Nope, no. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to find the deal, and then I'm just going to basically raise capital. I'm like, but you have no real estate experience. You're brand new. You're not even a Windsor resident. Like, do you know any contractors? No, you're going to tell me you're going to give me your contractors. And I'm like, wait a second here. What are you doing? Like, it makes, yeah. So, but then again, I have a friend of mine, Tom knows very, very well. And this guy basically started off with one investor. Pretty much he bought his first or second property by himself. Then he started growing using other people's money, but just one person. And then about a few years ago had an issue where that person needed to be cashed out. They made a bunch of money, but it was hard because that guy, they acquired so many properties together that my friend had to basically buy out a large portfolio if he wanted to keep it. If not, he had to sell a few of them off just to earn back some of the payments. Then went kind of on his own for a bit, but he was growing so slow compared to what he was used to. And then the last year or two, has pretty much found a new money kind of a lender for the most part as like a partnership. And he's blasted off buying a lot. Pretty much the sky's the limit for him in Windsor real estate. And it works. So as you mentioned, is find that one person with a large, like a pocket, can really boost that real estate portfolio a lot quicker because there's less hands to hands in the game, less mouths to feed, right? So it's one
Mhm.
of those things where we were talking about just like what's the right strategy. And I think you kind of hit it right perfectly on what if I were to ever get into basically either syndicating or getting some more partners, it would have to be a worthwhile deal. We're not talking fourplexes, sixplexes, eightplexes. I just don't see the value in that. But if you're talking about a 30 unit apartment building or something even larger, I think there's enough skin in the game that it could be even for myself, it could be worth the risk.
Man, 100%. And like you said, like who you partner with too is very important. You have to make sure
Hmm.
you have like you're aligned in goals and in vision and what happens. Like your friend here, maybe I'm sure he didn't envision himself having to separate with that one investor
No,
after a couple of years or however many years it was. Um, but if that investor told him from the get go, hey, this is going to be a 2, 3 year, whatever, your friend could have been prepared along the way. Um, but yeah, it's like, yeah, who you partner with is very, very, very important. I would say even more so in business than in real estate, because like if they have equity in your business and they're not holding up, unless they brought a lot of cash or something, you just got to be careful. You got to be careful who you get in bed with because yeah, it's quite literally it's a marriage. They're in it with you for the long haul. But yeah, no, that's I couldn't agree more with everything you just said.
When you partnered with that other couple, did you guys like kind of show each other skeletons in the closet? How did you make sure that they were a right fit? Is it just because you had known them as friends for a while too? Was there anything that made you know this is going to be a good choice?
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. So yeah, it is just, because the two wives were friends. That was the big thing for sure.
Hmm.
Um, but like, so a shareholders agreement was made. Of course, you need to have that, right? And at the end of the day, this was like my baby. This is like my creation, and it's worded in there very clearly. That's why the equity, it's not straight 50-50. There's a slight discrepancy. There's a reason why I'm the CEO as well. I have a lot of decision making powers, but yeah. Other than that, yeah. So one thing that I would say, it's like up until this point, I was never in like a partnership where like I had the kind of final say. And that's
Mm,
something that I kind of wanted here, to be honest with you.
a little bit more freedom.
A little bit more freedom to do what I thought was important when I thought it was important. Of course, I'll always communicate it with the team. I'm not just going to go ahead and unilaterally make decisions without, getting other people's approvals. But it's like if I wanted to do something that I knew would get us somewhere, but for some reason the other partners didn't want to, I would probably go ahead and do it, knowing that it was going to be the betterment for us all, that type of thing. And it's worded like that within the agreement. But yeah, honestly, the partnership's gone very well so far because there's certain things that I definitely I lack on. I'm not as organized as I should be. I'm not great with receipts and all that kind of stuff. If it was just me handling the financing, tax season would be a huge pain. It would be a pain for all.
Shoeboxes
So
everywhere full of paperwork.
it would be bad. It would be bad. So luckily, having the other husband to kind of take care of that and all the payroll, it takes a lot of pressure off of me. And then obviously Stephanie, the other couple, the wife, she's our medical director. She's important. Worst case scenario, I don't think she's going to die anytime soon. She's just too young like us. But if she does, we can always hire another medical director. They don't have to be an equity owner in our business. But that doesn't that doesn't really matter. But it just goes to show like she has value and she's a great injector. She has great rapport with all of the patients and the clients that come through. Great staff. Her and my wife, they're very close friends. They work together. They brainstorm. They back and forth on like the clinical aspect of things. So they work well together as a team. We're working well together right now. And yeah, and like we said earlier, as the team grows, if this does become and when this becomes a $100 million enterprise, it's
And
like
like I
there's
said, when, not if. There you go.
yeah, 100% when there will be way more people a part of this team that will kind of help us get to where we need to go.
Question about that. I'm not too familiar with a lot of the business side. That's not really my strong suit there. However, do you plan on owning these as owner? I guess not franchises there, but like an owner, you're gonna be the owner of each one, or are you gonna franchise out? Like, do you have an idea for
Good
that
question.
model?
Yeah, no, no,
Because
very,
obviously,
very good
I
question.
assume it's all about growth, right?
It is growth. So we do plan to franchise. That's the way you kind of scale very fast. So there's three ways about it actually. So we can open them all by ourselves, make every single one corporate owned. Um, that'll take time, but at that point we'll have 100% ownership. We'll recoup all of the profits, so it's not a bad thing, but I think it's kind of slower than I would like. It would take us a little longer to get to that exit. Um, but I do think you need to have a few of them. You can't actually, you know what? I've seen some research of places that have done like one strong branded business and they were able to immediately franchise from that. But I don't think that's going to be our path. I would like to have like, let's say 3, 4 of them before we branch out and go to the full franchise mode, because that is what I'd like to do. But another means of growth is via acquisitions. There's lots of these types of medical aesthetic places that, to be honest with you, aren't running very well. Um, there are a bunch of nurses and nurse practitioners, maybe even doctors that own them that just kind of do it on the side. just for a little extra cash because they do make good cash, but they don't put all their effort into it. And also, they don't have great business minds. We're healthcare professionals. We didn't go to business school. Um, of course, you learn on the job big time. You learn about business when you're doing stuff, but yeah, there's definitely nuances to things that I think somebody that comes in with like a scaling mentality and understand automation, understand business, understand marketing can kind of significantly help this type of like client facing business grow very fast. So because of that, I think there's a very clear path in acquiring a few more of these businesses along the way to kind of accelerate things. Do you know who Cody Sanchez is? The Main Street millionaire lady.
I think I've seen her on Instagram a couple times, but I don't know too much about her.
She's just a big advocate in buying businesses. That's like her whole thing. There's those real estate gurus and stuff like that. She's like a business guru, buying businesses guru. Um, so she gives a lot of advice on that. Because when you buy a business, it's much easier in one way than starting one from scratch because you already have built-in clientele, you have built-in systems, built-in employees, and you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to hire everybody. You don't have getting the clients is the hardest thing. Getting them and keeping them. If you have these clients, if I come, this one lady was selling her aesthetics business here locally. I didn't want to buy it at all, but I messaged her. I'm like, can I buy your client list? She never answered me. But anyway, that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to buy all of their client lists and just kind of rebrand them all into Youth Bar. But if I could buy, let's say, three, four, five of them in the next couple of years, on top of starting my own three, four, five of them, who knows? Then when I go to franchise at the start of year three, it's like, okay, cool. We have 10 corporate owned businesses that are making X amount of money. We have a proven system, everything systemized, SOPs, branding is strong. Because if you're going to franchise, you have to be able to spoon feed the franchisee owner on a platter how to take this business and operate it perfectly. Here's the marketing book, here's the ads that you run year round. Here's where you buy stuff, just to make things very easy because I think that's why I see it's a very fragmented market because it's very easy to get into. Somebody asked me one time, "Oh, there's not many of those around in Halifax, are there?" I mean, there are. There's only like three to maybe five that are, I would say, strong, like strong businesses that are owned and operated in a way that I would consider them, a competitor, quote air quotes. But then there might be like 15 other ones that are just like random little places that are operating because all you need is a medical director and a nurse to do it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'd love to buy a lot of those, and it wouldn't be too hard. And that's just here in Nova Scotia. I haven't looked thoroughly across Canada, but I'm sure you can. Like I said, it's a very fragmented industry. People love the idea of owning these types of businesses, and they'll just go ahead and start one. But then they'll quickly realize it's not easy. Marketing is not easy. Spending money on ads if you don't have cash is not easy. Having all the SOPs, the follow-up processes, the speed to lead stuff, all these things aren't intuitive. You have to kind of do research and learn. And if I can just give that to somebody, it'll make their life significantly easier. I don't know, let's say anywhere between 25 to 50K franchise fee to kind of get it, and then I don't know, 8% royalties. If we can get like 100 of those plus the corporate owned ones, now let's say we tap into the states, do the same thing. This is how you get to that $100 million valuation. That's how you kind of do it in an aggressive amount of time. But that's the grand vision.
When you're, oh no, go ahead, Jeremy. I see you.
I was just wondering, so you mentioned the medical director there for the most part. It has to be either a nurse practitioner or a doctor, right?
Yep.
Is that for just the whole business? Like, could that person be technically, I guess, because most of the time it's just going to be the regular nurse that's going to be doing it, right?
Yeah. So
To a certain degree. So, like, for example, your friend there, the wife, is she, if you say you open a second one right now, does she have to be at both of them to be qualified for like that? Or does it have to, can that like just be she can kind of come and go, but there's just because you have someone on roster, you're gonna, oh, look at this. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened there.
Celebrating.
No, no. But I'm
Um,
just curious to know. I'm just curious to know if that's if you have to have a director for each, or could it just be one under a handful?
yeah, the latter. She can be the medical director for every single clinic that we open in Nova Scotia.
Interesting.
Um,
Well,
but it's province to province specific, state to state specific. So, to be honest with you, I haven't looked like in depth on the franchise or like the next stages of like opening one in different provinces yet, but I would imagine they're going to be a little different. I know, like, just
So
go ahead.
no, what I'm saying is it's enticing for a nurse that wants to do it, but doesn't have that connect.
Oh yeah, especially in Nova Scotia, it would be great to be honest with you. Um, you know, in HRM, I think I'd like us to be more corporate owned. So when I say HRM, Halifax Regional Municipality, that's like the core area where I operate. I would probably like them to be more corporate owned. I don't think I see us franchising any in my direct vicinity, but let's say the outskirts, the small towns, let's say an hour away, where I would love to plop some youth bars there. Those would be great locations for franchisees, nurses in those areas that want to open up one of these types of clinics. We can spoon feed them everything and help them grow a substantial business.
Hmm,
Now, if we want to go over to Ontario, open up some more New Brunswick, PI, we'll have to have a different medical director there that that's licensed to work in that state,
makes
province,
sense.
or
Hmm.
province and states.
Okay.
how do you choose a marketer of those locations? Is it just wherever there are a few medical aesthetic spas, that's where you kind of pick and choose? Because I'm sure you've used some of your real estate background as well to analyze a city or analyze a location that means that this fits well for your business, or if it would have been for this multifamily building that you're buying, right?
Yeah,
How do you decide where that sweet spot is?
this industry is growing, so finding those areas where there's minimal competition will be important, but also hard. So it's like I think um, I'm not against competition. I think with proper marketing and SOPs and everything on the back end, systemized follow ups, leads, all that stuff, we can carve out our niche pretty much anywhere, especially if our nurses are good at what they do. To be honest with you, that's like the core of the business that I kind of haven't really talked much about yet, because I'm more of just pure business side of things. But at the end of the day, the quality of the work speaks volumes on how your business will grow. I could be
Right.
the best marketer, best salesperson in the world, but if a lady or gentleman comes to the clinic and their face just gets botched,
Their
that,
forehead still moves.
yeah, yeah. If their forehead still moves, that's good. We can always put more Botox. But like, if something else happens, that's like, I don't know, like your eyebrows can drop or weird stuff can happen, But if we really F up their face, they're not going to come back. Sometimes maybe if it's like a one-off, you can kind of, with some very good communication, convince them to not leave a bad Google review and come back, and we'll do it for free or something. Some serious just putting out that fire. But if it's a common theme and the injector just sucks, then it's just going to hurt the brand because
Mhm.
the ladies they have to look good. They have to look good and feel good. That's the whole point of this business. People want to come, they're subconscious or like they feel bad about wrinkles or whatever problem they have, and we make them feel nice and look nice. And if we can't do that, they're not going to come back. They're not going to tell their friends, and the business will die. So that's a big thing that we've kind of pushed to. Continue education in the space for our employees, especially the nurses, learning from the best doctors and other nurses in the world that kind of have been doing this for decades. This industry, it's ever evolving in the healthcare space. New techniques, new products, new services are always coming out. So just making sure to stay on top of that kind of stuff. So to provide it to our clients is important. But to answer your question though, again, I would plop us pretty much anywhere to an extent. There's probably some spots I haven't really looked to it until like in Toronto. They're probably everywhere. I can only imagine, right? So
Right.
like if we can go to a spot or a town where there's only a couple, that's ideal. Or even if there's, a dozen, 20 or so, if it's similar to like where I live, where there's only like a handful, that are like serious, then we can probably carve out our own little niche there. But that's something that I think would like I said, that's more so the franchise aspect of things. I would do some marketing towards the franchise model, and people have to reach out to me, right? That's the whole point of it. Like they like Youth Bar, they like what we're doing here, and they want to put us where they live. So I'm assuming they would have done some market research on their end to see that okay, this is a sustainable business model. Um, but yeah, it is a growing space. There's no doubt. It's only growing faster year over year. So I think that's kind of something that kind of puts a little fire underneath my butt to make us differentiate us from the pack.
Right?
So
You want to ride that wave.
we want to ride that wave and just kind of stay ahead of everybody. Just kind of be the ones that are leading the race.
So, question for you here, because you were mentioning branding, and me and Jeremy realized, especially with doing the podcast and things, we want to elevate our personas, and especially in real estate and in business, both credibility is everything, and putting yourself out there and letting people know you even exist. Because sometimes, for instance, like capital raising, or Jeremy, since you're the realtor of Windsor, how does someone know to come to you if they don't know you exist? So how did you build that credibility in the onset when you were first starting up the business? Did you have any difficulties with that, or do you have any suggestions from what you've learned also in real estate, how investors or business owners can push themselves or their business and market themselves better?
Yeah, man, social media is huge. That's really honestly like people sometimes, I used to be in these real estate groups and they're just like, be like, oh, social media, post, post, post. And I thought that, they're being silly, just kind of overselling it, but it's the truth. To be honest with you, you have to push it on social media. That's a big thing. I used to think social media or Instagram followers, it was a vanity metric. And to an extent, sometimes it actually is. It's like, who
Right.
cares if someone has 10,000, 100,000, a million? At a certain scale, it probably starts to make a little bit of a difference for legitimacy and some revenue. But I used to be more of the thought process where I'd rather have like 1 or 2 thousand loyal followers that will buy my stuff versus 100,000 ghost followers that don't even like or do anything. But in our space, if you can kind of, or even in real estate, if you can organically build up a large following that like your content in real estate, if they are being educated, um, I think this is good, even for capital raising. We were talking about that earlier. I used to talk about, I don't know, I'm sure you guys listen to the Bigger Pockets podcast, but when I was,
Hmm.
heavy into the real estate podcast, I probably listened to all 600 or 700 episodes of Bigger Pockets, to be honest with you.
Wow.
So Brandon Turner
Yeah.
talking in my ear every single day for probably 3, 4 years. If I ever met that guy and he needed money from me, he's like my friend. Of course I would. That's why I think this podcast is good. If you can build up a following, it's like podcasts are like an intimate thing, man. You're talking to people's ears, when they're
Mm.
walking down the street, they're at the gym. It builds like a trust. Even me and my friend Ian, we had our own podcast, a real estate podcast too, a couple years ago.
No way.
We had like
We got to
40.
drop a link so people can listen
Oh,
to it.
I mean, you can. We don't do it right now. We might start it up again sometime. But
Yeah.
anyways, we had like some 40 episodes in, and you don't think people listen to it. But then, like, I've had guys come up to me randomly every now and then on the streets, like, "Hey, Manny, my name's so and so. I loved your podcast with Ian. Are you guys ever going to start it up again?" And it's like strangers. You know what I mean? So it goes to show it makes you seem more legitimate. These types of things. But back to the followers. I'm just going off track, but like
There you're
these
good.
followers, if you post properly and have a strategy with how you run things, how you make your posts, how you strategize your stories, if you align it with your email marketing, all of these things work together. These followers become clients if you do it properly. So why I said sometimes it's a vanity metric. If you treat it properly, it doesn't have to be. You can convert your followers into buyers and customers, but you have to work strategically. You can't just arbitrarily post here and there when you feel the need. There needs to be strategy to what you do. And that's what we do on our back end. Let's say we're going to have an ad on microneedling. It's like a skin thing that these ladies do.
Mhm.
For like, let's say a week prior, we'll have like 3 or 4 posts about it to kind of pre-educate our followers. Then we'll have it in our stories, along the way. The whole week, every single day, it'll be in our stories. Then they'll get an email blast. Boom, all 750, whatever, 1,000 clients that we have about microneedling. Then the following week, we'll run an ad on microneedling. So a whole week has come. They've been conditioned from multiple different sources, Instagram posts, Instagram stories, emails. Sometimes we'll even do a text blast. So they get a text too. Microneedling, microneedling. That's all they see and why it's good for you. And then boom, an ad comes on, a promotion on microneedling. What do? They come get microneedle. So it's just like having these little strategies is something that it's so important to have because yeah, your social following is huge. Man, Tom, what was the initial question? I just kind of went on like a
No,
huge
no, you're good.
rant there.
You basically, I think, have answered it. It was is more so how do you leverage social
Oh,
media and build credibility and just market yourself properly? Because in real estate and in business, obviously, people need to know what you do and eventually buy or raise money from you or bring you deals, find deals. Because that's one of the reasons me and Jeremy started doing this podcast and also having in-person real estate meetups. So not only provide value, of course, but it just retroactively and residually it does build up your presence as well. So it's
yes.
interesting hearing how you're using that and you have like a whole system in place. It's planned, not just haphazard, just posting for 3 days and then disappearing for months and appearing again saying, "Hey, I need money." Like that's like some investors do. Or like, "I have this deal," and like it's it obviously doesn't work that way.
Big time. And then another thing too, especially for the realtors in the group, or even if you have like some sort of like investment firm, if you have a Google profile, you wouldn't believe how important Google reviews are. People when they Google you and they see, your name with a bunch of 5-star Google reviews, it goes a long way in business and in real estate. That's something that we've pushed aggressively for a youth bar. We have over 100 5-star Google reviews. We've been in operation for 6, 7 months. There's businesses that have been doing what we do for 4, 5, 6 years, and they have less Google reviews than us, and like 4.7, 4.6. Of course, I'm sure at some point along the way we're gonna catch one of those 4 stars
Catch
or
a
whatever.
stray. Yeah.
It is what it is, but it's just like if you can have hundreds of Google reviews that are positive, it will always outweigh that. But on that same front, this is why there's so much in marketing, man. Like even Google SEO, search engine optimization, it's a whole different beast. I don't know if you guys have ever dabbled into it, man. It's not as important, I don't think, in real estate specifically. Maybe actually in real estate agents, I think it would be beneficial to them if you have your own website and you have a bunch of Google reviews and if anybody Google's real estate agent in Windsor. I don't know. Are you a real estate agent, Jeremy, or no?
Yes, I am.
You are. So like if someone Google's real estate agent Windsor, who's number one? Is it Jeremy?
Nope.
It's not Jeremy, right? So it's like
Nope.
you want it to be Jeremy, but it takes time. And like all the little things that you have to do to kind of get to that number one spot, man, it's a pain in the butt. That's why we've outsourced that to an SEO company.
Mhm.
A big part of it is how long your web page or your website's been alive. So
And
like for
backlinks and
you,
all this crazy stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even know what a backlink is, but we have a bunch of them. So but yeah, if your website's been around for a while, that it helps your SEO. Newer businesses, it takes a little while to get there. Anyways, all that to say, like, there's many things that you can do. It's just kind of doing them all. Just to be honest with you, if you can figure out a way how to, dip your toes in all of these little ways to make sure your name's known, then you'll be set. Your branding will grow, and then this compounds over time. If you do all of these little things over and over, month after month, year after year, next thing you know, after a decade, somebody Google's, wins a real estate agent. Jeremy's number one.
Jeremy will be one day. Investor focus, by the way.
Yeah, add that there too.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of reviews, I know Jeremy because you do Airbnb as well, right? So your reviews are everything. How do you get your reviews or 5 stars or what do you do for your clients that way? Do you ask for a review after the fact? Because I know
For
Manny,
the
you're
Airbnb,
probably
is this most people just tend to rate them. So right now, I think we have because we're one of the few people in Windsor that allows like one night stays and stuff, and we're so close. When it comes to Airbnb location, I mean, with real estate in general, it's all about location. Um, my one Airbnb we have right now, that's probably one of the best rated in Windsor, is because it's located downtown. So for long-term tenants, it's probably not, it'd be considered a lower end property, but for Airbnb, you're just outside the main strip of the city of Windsor, which is the Olet area. So you're not going to get the hubbub of the downtown core. You're not going to get the homelessness. But you're maybe a 5 minute walk to call it Tim Hortons or McDonald's or uh, the Loose Goose is probably like a 10 minute walk. The city has the International Aquatic Center, right? We have Caesars Windsor, the bridge, the tunnel, all that's within just a few minute drive. So for us, we're just focusing heavy on just being priced competitively. However, just racking up reviews. I think our one Airbnb alone has like 400 or 500 reviews. Where if you go to the Windsor Airbnbs, there's like 40, 50 reviews, and they might look better. They might be priced a lot more. But for us, our product is just more turnover, right? And then that we're making good money on that. Are we making great money? Probably not, but we're making enough money that that one property can churn over so much quicker.
Yeah, I knew you had a bunch of reviews. I just wasn't sure how much, so that's why I wanted to make sure you're included in that one
I'm
because
hoping
that's quite a lot.
I think altogether between all the Airbnbs, I think we're probably approaching 1,000.
Holy cow. That makes
That's
sense with the
awesome.
high turnover rate and stuff too. So
Oh yeah,
if you have only one night
completely.
stand, it's easier to get more reviews as opposed to
I have to,
midterm rentals
I
of
have
8 months or whatever it is.
35 reviews that I have to do on people right now. I'm slacking.
Oh
So,
man. This is a question that's not really related to the real estate side of things, but I'm curious because I like the health and wellness space as well. You're mentioning that males are kind of men are an untapped clientele source right now, or at least compared to women. Have you investigated looking into any peptides, or not necessarily TRT, but or you could, I guess, too, maybe, but have you looked into like the classic BPC 157 or any of those things that are also health and wellness, low inflammation, all that jazz?
1000%. That's actually something that I envision being kind of like the next phase for youth bars specifically. More so like so for like the corporate owned ones, because like you said, so like me and Tom, we both Tom, I don't know if you still do jujitsu, but I still train a lot of jujitsu. I get a lot of injuries, small joints.
Hmm.
I hurt my wrist not last summer, summer 2024.
Oh, dang. Were you wrist locked or what happened?
Not even, bro,
Just
terribly.
a fluke?
No, but yeah, I pulled guard and like a big guy just fell on my wrist. The
Oh,
like a
dang.
big boy, probably 260, just full weight on my wrist. Anyways, it didn't heal. It
Hmm.
took like maybe 2 months and it still didn't heal. So I got some BPC 157, and I swear, within a month it was healed.
It's the magic drug. Honestly, it's kind of like the Wolverine drug, that and TB 500. That sort
Exactly.
of stuff
So
is,
and then speaking of testosterone, I got a friend here, not older guy, he's probably like in his mid 40s. He was experiencing some low test. He uh he went to his family doctor. Can I get some blood work done? Depending on my outcomes, do you mind, prescribing me some TRT? He said no. Like the family physician just straight up said no. Family physicians specifically, they're generalists, right? They don't understand these very specific things in any detail. They can generally help you get better if you're sick, if you have the flu or something. But this is a very specific thing. And here, so my friend lives here in Halifax. He had to go to Toronto. I forget what the clinic's called or whatever, but
man,
that and they helped him out. So they got him some TRT, and now life's great. So that is something I would love to incorporate. You know, I have some rough outlines of the business plan built out for probably like this time next year. To be honest with you, this is like because like this is a completely separate business model. It goes alongside of it, but it's different. It's the same but different,
right?
right? So
It's
like
more
hormone,
performance based almost versus looks based.
it is. This is so like Botox and filler, all this stuff. It's aesthetics. what we're talking about now, this is wellness, and they do go hand in hand. So hormone optimization for men and women, especially premenopausal women, men at that stage in life where what a little their test is low, they might need a little extra boost. Like you said, these peptides that are kind of starting to just gain traction here in North America. I'd love to provide that for my market. It's 100% in the works. It's in the back of my mind. I haven't given it a whole lot of thought in the short term because there's many little things I have to do before that becomes a priority. But that's something I think will also help us separate from the bunch. Cool, you can go to youth bar and get the best medical aesthetics possible, but then some of these older ladies, and because that's a lot of our clientele too, to be honest with you, women between the ages of like 35 to like 65.
Hmm.
Think about all those ladies that are premenopause. So if we could help them out in multiple aspects, now they become clients for life. That's another thing why actually I like this business model in general. The Botox, it's very sticky. These women that come to us, once they like Steph, once they like Michelle, Grace, Jen, our injectors, they're only going to come see us for some time. Like it's like I don't know about you guys I'm bald now, but when I used to when I had hair, I'd get haircuts. Same guy cut my hair for like 30 years.
Of course, your
So I'm
barber's like your best buddy.
100%. So like same with the injectors, they are like their best buddies. They love our injectors. They build a little bit of a relationship and a rapport, so they don't want to go see anybody else. Um, these clients will be with us for a long time. The lifetime value of these types of clients is incredibly high, especially if you have membership programs, pushed involved in there. And that's what we have. We have some pretty snazzy membership programs that our ladies love. So now we have recurring revenue. We have very sticky clients that have great lifetime value. These are all little things that may not seem huge in the moment, but at scale, they start to make a big difference, especially when it comes to valuation of your business if you plan an exit in the future.
So, with all this that you're doing for other clients and maintaining themselves and keeping them healthy, are you doing anything for yourself in terms of maintaining your own performance or trying to optimize yourself? Because people, whether you're in business or in real estate, I'm sure they could learn a thing or two on how to make sure they're maintaining themselves. Or do you have anything special routines? Because I know me and Jeremy go to the gym, but what else should we be doing in terms of moving
Yeah,
forwards?
man, it's hard. It's hard. It's kind of like the work-life balance thing. I don't think it exists, but it's like same with business, man. It's just like once you're kind of in it. So like I'm heavy into jiu-jitsu. For the first year and a half before we had youth bar going, I'd go 5, 6 times a week. It's significantly decreased. If I get in there 3 times now, it's like a great week, 3 to 4 times. So yeah, you have to try to prioritize some things for sure. But there's no doubt, like when you're in the thick of it, some things got to take a back seat. Some things should always take priority. Family time. I don't know in the future if any of your listeners have, wife, girlfriend, kids, all that stuff. You should always put them, not at the top, tied at the top with business and stuff. But yeah, for myself, so the health things, I try to stay active, make sure at least the bare minimum, get out for a 30-minute walk a day with my wife, kid, dogs. Um, yeah, if I can get to jujitsu, I aim for 5 days.
Hmm.
If I fall short, land on three, not the end of the world. Yeah, because I do think staying active is important, and staying healthy as well, trying to eat well. I was talking to just somebody the other day. It's like who cares if you're rich and you're sick? Every rich person in the world will trade every last penny for their health if they lose that. So that's something to always kind of keep in mind along the way because it can easily get neglected. When you get busy, oh, let me order takeout. Oh, let me skip the workout today and make some extra calls. And that stuff's fine when you do it once, but then once you start to kind of stack those up over time, months, years, skipping workouts, eating like shit. Next thing you know, you're very overweight, your arteries are clogged, heart attack, stroke, all that stuff. So it's like you want to nip that stuff in the bud before it kind of gets out of hand. So I do think it's very important to, yeah, I'm a big movement guy. Um, drink your water. It sounds silly, but especially just, for anyone that's in athletics, it's like when you become dehydrated, immediately brain fog, your athletic performance declines. So I try my best to stay hydrated. Sleep's important, man. If I don't sleep well, like it affects how I operate. I used to follow this guy. Oh my God, I forget his name. He's like this big influencer dude, business guy, kind of a nut. It's like you think these guys are really smart until they kind of just start talking pure nonsense. You'll know what I mean. You probably heard this. He talks about how he broke up his days in like 6 hour segments. He's like, oh, I'll sleep from 12 to 6. And then that's one day. And then day two is from 6 till noon. That's day one. Or day two. And then day three is from from noon to 6 p.m. And then day three, or day four is from 6 p.m. to midnight. So he lives 4 days in a 24-hour period. I'm like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. But people eat this stuff up because he just speaks with confidence. That's one thing on that note too. These podcasts, man, you can talk pure nonsense, but if you speak with, I'm confident with what I'm saying, have some cool edits in the background, there's some dummy out there that will believe you.
Oh man, I know me and Jeremy have talked off camera about some of the people that we see like that. It's like, man, if only people really knew.
Man, Tom, I saw this
But
guy on TikTok the other day, a real estate dude. He gave just the worst real estate advice that I've ever heard. He's like, go buy that property. Who cares if it's $1,000 in the negative? It doesn't matter. In 5 years, appreciation, you'll be fine. But it's like this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Unless you're making so much money in your day job where that doesn't matter, that's a terrible strategy.
while you're at it, put it on your credit card.
Yeah, it's like I wanted to comment. I'm like, how do you scale this way? You can't buy 15, 20 of these. Now you're 20 grand in the hole every single month. What are you going to do? Unless you're a millionaire and you're using this as kind of some sort of tax deferral strategy, just like for your day-to-day operations, it's just silly.
Well, most of those guys they haven't really seen this market right now. They're like, oh, we're only in a blip because they see what happened with the stock market where it went down and then went back up, all-time highs, then went down a little bit, then went back up. And with real estate, I mean, people fail to realize like in the 90s, we were in like a 10 to 12-year lull. Same thing like in the late 70s, early 80s, lull, right? We go through these 10, sometimes more, sometimes less. But this pre-COVID buildup was like once in a generation thing. Like the last time I heard about this was like 100 years ago that this was happening in an area like Miami, and it was also happening in Detroit, Michigan, back in the early late 20s, early 30s kind of thing. This before obviously the depression, right?
Mhm.
So but you're right. A lot of people are just, and I see it even in my market too. Some of these agents that are, they're well built up on social media, and they're saying, "Oh, this is a great product, or you should buy this." Like, or hey, you can get a car for free. This is how I got a car for free. It's like, no, you just bought a property. Your car is still a negative value. Like it's just, and then I look at that, I'm like, do I need to do this? Like, do I, as that's what I have as a realtor is like, I'm trying to build a reputable brand. And I'm like, okay, well, some of the content these people push, like I have that one, like that little fork in the road. It's like, well, even if I advertise some of my own product, like my properties I have listed, like if it's garbage, I'm not going to say it's the fucking best thing ever because you're building a brand on of not trying to sell people garbage. And that's like, and that's what you're seeing is like you're seeing people push stupid stuff regardless of the market, and they're saying, "Oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread." It's like it's not, and you're putting your reputation on the line. All it takes is for you to burn one person, and then that person is going to roast you on social
Yeah,
media, like you just said.
The thing is, Jeremy, most real estate agents suck. Just
They do.
to be
They do.
blunt, I would say 90, maybe 90% terrible. I see a world here, honestly, within the next 10 years with the way AI is kind of going, that I just
Oh
see
yeah.
the job as being almost useless. The only reason, to be honest with you, anyways, I don't want to speak negatively about realtors. I think the good ones are amazing. They can really help you. But the only reason that these associations are doing so well is because they lobby the government. There's, you see how advanced AI is nowadays. Are you
Mhm.
telling me somebody can't create some sort of chatbot that can immediately get you all the comps that you need?
It depends. I mean, for real estate investors, there's not much emotion, but in the last month and a half, the amount of clients I've dealt with that are so emotional, they need a guide. And that's, I think, what still pushes us as more than just a door opener is that kind of therapist aspect too, where for some people, real estate is such an emotional thing for them. Like, I have investors that I'm sitting there and the deal's falling apart and I'm like, oh, it is where it is. My client is like having a full out like panic attack. And I'm like, well, hey, I'm sorry. There's no emotion in real estate investing, but for some people they do. And you kind of have to sit back and realize like, oh, wait a second. Some people, like even I have some people that flip houses and I have to tell them and shake them and be like, look, you're not living here. Don't do your flip based off of what you like. Like, don't put yourself living, you're not living here. Don't envision yourself living here. Otherwise, you're going to get, and then even some people too, it's just, it's a lot of emotion. And I think that's where you have to have a good, a realtor or a lawyer. I mean, someone that's going to represent you. Um, but then again, I mean, even a lawyer only works till 5 p.m. if they work till 5 p.m. Right. So what happens after those hours? But that's the thing with real estate. It's still, you still need to kind of have that companion. So I do see it changing. And I think you're right. AI will help a lot of advanced realtors, people like even myself, or I have a lot of clientele that they're real estate investors, but I consider them to be like they're robots. They're, they're not heartless. I don't want to use that word, but there's no emotion in real estate investing. But for most people, they're still very emotional.
Hmm.
Jeremy, I agree with you, and I think you seem like a great realtor. The emotion that these chatbots can provide you, brother, I'm telling you, I can see a world where that can easily be automated by a chatbot. Now,
You're good.
I don't think that's imminent. It's going to take time. You know what I mean? Because, dude, people are using these things as legit therapists. You know what I
I've heard
mean?
about that. Yeah.
They're
To
so
a fault. So, because they're not perfect.
they're
They're,
not perfect.
they're not
No,
perfect.
they're
Hmm.
There's
I mean,
people.
Jeremy, you dabble in a lot of AI. You do
I
a
do
ton of it
dabble a
in your
lot in
business.
AI, but it was one day it caught me off guard. I mean, the issue was is I was sitting there, I have my assistant set up there, and he's just gassing me right up. And I'm like, this is sick. And then
The
I
chatbot,
ask,
like
yo,
the
yeah,
AI. Oh,
it
yeah,
gasses
exactly.
me right up, right? But then it won't talk
Right. Yeah.
negative really about you.
No, it
If
won't.
you say, hey, like it's just a yes man. And that's the one issue it cannot, that the issue we're going to have right now is it doesn't know when to yes man you up and not when to yes man you up. So it's still going to be an emotional thing because imagine you have an emotional seller who's just going through everything, which I deal with well, at least one of these a year, and they're trying to talk to an AI bot, and the AI bot's like, "You have every right to feel this way," and it's just gonna be a fucking nightmare. I wouldn't want to be on that airline because they're gonna be like, "My therapist, my AI, just gassed me up and said that I'm right and I should be feeling this way, and you're gonna suffer about it."
Yeah, yeah, they hallucinate a lot, that's for sure. A lot of confirmation bias. Even
Dude,
sometimes when I'm chatting with it, it's like it tells me I'm godlike with my thinking, you know. I try to
yeah.
prompt it and tell it, don't do that, Talk to me like a purely objective perspective, but at its core, they can't do that yet. But at the speed that I see them improving, it's very scary. I think honestly, any industry, we could have a whole conversation on AI. Outside of just like specifically them taking over realtors, there's many jobs that I think they are
Oh,
going to get taken
100%.
out.
It's
100%.
coming. It's going to be a big,
Tom, it's
big
it's
hurt thing.
happening. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
now. It's not coming. It's here. And it's only
Fair
going to get
point.
worse. That's why Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, like he said, like he works on like some big universal basic income things because he's like, there's going to be so many people that are out of jobs that we need to have some sort of way to pay people.
They need
Or
some sort of safety net, or otherwise it's going to be collapse.
yeah, but yeah. Anyways, we can save that an AI chat for another call because let me
Of
tell you,
course, yeah,
that's something
implementing
I
AI in your business. I'm sure there's a lot of avenues, but there is one other question I definitely want to ask. In business or in real estate, what was the biggest lesson you've learned so far? Maybe this can kind of tie it nicely in a bow that you can impart to future listeners or people who are trying to do the same thing. What's the biggest takeaway you've learned so far in your how many years is it now? Almost a decade of business in real estate.
That's a good question. The biggest lesson I've learned, man. I think, a big a big thing that I've learned in real estate that's kind of even just come over into business is just like the importance of just like it might sound crazy, but just having cash reserves to kind of weather storms. That's why, like in real estate, people talk about cash flow being super important. Not so much cash flow just for like your day to day life, but just to weather storms. It's very important. Same with business. If you have cash in the bank, you can withstand anything. You know what I mean? Like everything comes in ebbs and flows, right? So just to kind of give you an example, I had a buddy of mine who owned a restaurant, a pretty popular restaurant here. And during COVID, he was in the process of about to open up a second location.
Oh,
Then
wow.
COVID, obviously businesses took a massive hit. Many restaurants had to close down because they couldn't withstand, the turmoil. He got very lucky. He had a lot of cash in the bank account that he was about to use for this new location. So because of that, he was able to kind of withstand the COVID um, struggle that other people were. He's come out on the other side of it. He's doing great. Now he's able to. Now he's actually in the process of opening up that second one. So like he was delayed, but having that cash kind of gave him just kind of a lifeline. Same with like these high cash flow businesses like the one that we have here. Um, we do operate pretty lean, and I do my best to kind of keep it that way from an operational standpoint. And we're able to just kind of have pretty strong profit margins because of that. But it's something that I keep in the back of my mind. It's like having these cash reserves. If something happens and we can't, I don't know, who knows? Another COVID happens and we have to pay this rent every single month. We have to pay our employees. We have to pay insurance, all these things. How long can we stay afloat? It's like having that in the back of your mind. It's kind of very integral to any business, any real estate investor. Yeah, real estate too. Like if you want to go buy this duplex and you have, let's say barely any cash flow, break even, maybe a couple $100, but you have absolutely no reserves. What are you going to do when that boiler breaks? What are you going to do when that roof,
Exactly.
needs to be replaced? Worst case, what if that tenant stops paying rent? Now what? It's like who's paying for that rent? Do you have enough cash coming in every single month from your normal job to cover their mortgage, or do you just have cash reserves to kind of withstand that for X amount of time? Especially a lot of Ontario investors. I know the landlord rules there are pretty abysmal, so like you have to
Hmm.
prepare
Hmm.
for these kinds of things. This is a big risk mitigation strategy that you have to have in the back of your, not in the back of your mind, the front of your mind before you buy any real estate, before you start any business. Just preparing for the worst. Are you ready for the worst case scenario? And if it happens, what will you do? Will it kill you, or can you survive and move on? So, something that I think it's been very apparent to me since starting Youth Bar, and it was starting to become even more apparent to me, in the months prior, just through other real estate deals that I'm a part of. But moving forward, it's something that I just keep cognizant of. Any real estate deal that I'm a part of in the future, we'll have healthy cash reserves to an extent. You don't want to just have a bunch of cash doing nothing, but you
Yeah.
have to have money set aside for emergencies. Business too.
Oh, we see people so often living day by day. And this is where, I mean, I've had so many investors too come up to me and go, well, I need to sell this property, I need to get out of it, but I also can't lose money because I can't pay to have the mortgage
Right.
broken.
Yeah, they're stuck.
Um, and then I also have another guy who just literally called me and goes, hey, I have a large sum of cash in my pocket right now, burning a hole. Let's go put some offers in. And he starts lowballing. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if this lowballing thing is going to really work for us. But he's like, let's do 10-day closings. So we found a property where it was sitting on the market for a bit. The seller had a few offers. One offer that was conditional fell apart. Might have been this, I don't know why it fell apart. We never asked. But the seller goes, oh, when you're presented with an offer that you might not like, but it's got 10 days and you're going to get cash in hand in like literally a week, some sellers are going to go, wait a second here. They're starting to think, what can I do with lots of hundreds of thousands of dollars in 10 days. So, because I have some investors that go, oh, we'll do this and we'll do that, and we'll throw all these conditions and then we'll close in like 60 days. Well, 60 days is a long period of time, but in 10 days, that's cash is king. Cash is a great, especially in this type of market right now where we're starting to see people really struggle. There's deals to be had for sure. And I think that if you have cash, you could really move the needle a little bit longer and you can really be a bully, or you could find some opportunities, whether or not you're lending or you're buying.
I had a buddy, Jeremy, here in Halifax. He was selling his house. In fact, no, he wasn't moving back to Windsor. He was moving somewhere in Ontario, but he had a private offer on his home for 1.4 million. It's a beautiful home, great location. He was going to take it, but then his wife convinced him to put it on the market. I'm like, Bruce, that's a bad idea. 1.4 mil, that's a good price.
Man.
That's what you wanted. This guy's ready to close. They're ready to go. But he listened to his wife. They put on the market 1.475 or something. So it's like, dude, that's just going to be the commission that you're going to lose. This is so silly.
Right. He's getting
Yeah.
greedy here.
Yeah, the wife got greedy. Long story short, it's been 3 months, still sitting on the market, 1.45 now. They've reduced the price, and they've moved out since. So like he's eating that monthly mortgage burn. So it's just like sometimes you just gotta being able to move fast, and having cash. It's
Oh yeah.
people underestimate how valuable that is in every aspect of business, real estate, everything.
Hmm.
Wow.
I've even told some of my clients too, like, so as a realtor, I'm not trying to sell their house for them, but like sell your house. Sell, you have a lot of, for example, if you don't have much equity, just take the money out, sell it. You bought it 10 years ago, whatever, rent for a bit, hold a bunch of cash. Because I have a lot of investors right now that have that personal property and they're not doing much with the write-off on it. They don't really want to HELOC it. They don't, or they can't HELOC it, right? Because they don't have a lot of, they're maybe their loan to value is a little bit off. But in that case there, they sell their house, they pocket $300,000 cash. They rent for a bit. Damn, you could take $300,000, put in the stock market, put into real estate. That money can move a lot faster than you sitting on an equity on your house.
The velocity of money concept, it's like money likes to move. That's how you make money
Hmm.
fast.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Manny, is there anything else that we haven't touched on with your business that you'd like to share, or that um, anything else about the youth bar? Maybe where can we find you? Where do you have a website? And actually, I think you sent it to us. I can put it in the description. But where can people find you personally if they want to get involved in one day, maybe franchise themselves with you?
Yeah, man. So how you follow us, that's another thing. If any of you listen to this and want to follow me in Youth Bar, would rather you follow Youth Bar. you, you
Fair.
can always follow me as well. But yeah, Youth Bar HFX. That's our handle on Instagram. Gentlemen, I'm sure you know that your audience, but if it's a lot of guys that watch, tell your wives to follow. If you want to follow me, it's at Manny Schiff at Instagram as well. Actually, maybe it's Manny Shiferaw. It might be my full name actually on Instagram.
I'll make sure I look it up either way, and I'll have it
Okay.
there.
And then TikTok, it's just Manny Schiff. I put a lot of stuff there, here and there. LinkedIn, just my full name. I like to try to post
I've been
stuff,
seeing you actually ramp up a little bit on LinkedIn. I've been seeing your posts more, at least more off. Maybe it's because I started liking them, but now I'm definitely seeing you doing those long forward word posts. So that's kind of cool to see.
yeah, all these little things that I learned along the way, I'm trying to just share with others. So I post there as much as I can. But yeah, anyone can reach out to me at any time to an extent. You know what, Tom, actually, I want to take that back. That's something that I was doing a lot early on. Like anyone can call me and text me. But then, my schedule was getting jam-packed with a bunch of these random conversations went off. So like, you can still reach out to me, but be cognizant that I might be sometimes slow to answer, but I'll get back to you. Because yeah, there's a reason why I like to do these podcasts, why I put those LinkedIn posts, TikTok videos. It's because like all of the knowledge that I have in my head, I wanted to just share it to like everybody. That's a way to do it to the masses, instead of like individually one at a time. Because people do, I do some business consulting on the side as well.
Oh, wow.
Have some ladies. It's funny, man. I started posting on TikTok. People were taking my advice and implementing it into their business, and then they were like, can we have 1 hour long conversations? And I'm like, I don't, I don't got that kind of time, but I do for a fee, and then like happily pay that fee. It's if you think about it, this one lady told me it's like whatever the fee was, um, she went and implemented what I told her, and she was able to like get 20 plus bookings within the first week. That's 20
Wow.
plus people that are going to drop 300 to 400 bucks because of what I showed her. Who
Well
cares
worth the
if I
money.
charge her? And she
Yeah.
can do this same thing over and over and over. So that 20 was like in the first week, but over the span of like a year, it could be hundreds of people. This could make her tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. If she paid me $1,000, that's just an arbitrary number. That's 100x on her money. You know what I mean? So it's like if you can get high level business advice for somebody, I don't think you should nitpick too much at the price to an extent. If you trust the person that's giving you that advice, they're doing what you want to do. It's something to consider. That's why we paid for coaching, all of us. It's because it can help you level up. But yeah, that's like a tangent. If anyone is in the med spa space, or even you want to start your own business and you are interested in just some consulting and stuff like that, you can always reach out. We can talk a little bit more in depth. I'm not here to break anybody's bank. I'm just here to be cognizant of my time. Also, people are more likely to act on something that they paid for versus a free thing. You can go watch most of the shit that I tell you on YouTube, kind of. It'll take you a while, you have to like piece it all together. But if somebody can just give you a targeted plan, do this, this, this. These are the steps you take. This is the follow-up process. This is the speed to lead. This is all the automation I have on the back end. This is the ad copy. This is the ad picture. Just same idea to why I think franchising will work very well. But if I'm able to just do this for somebody else's business, I'll give you an hour of my time for a small fee, and you can go take the information and make as much money as possible. It'll make me very happy.
There's something rewarding definitely about helping people and seeing it actually work and actually see them take action and implement it. Because sometimes when you not that I've really coached too many people or anything like that, but you give someone a suggestion, but they don't actually act on it, even though they took up all your time. That's kind of a piss off. But once you see they actually listen to you, I think that's rewarding too, because you can say, okay, they respect what I said, and then when it works, it's
And if they
fantastic.
pay you for that information, they're
Right?
more likely to act on it.
Yeah, they get their
That's
fires underneath their butt a little bit more
yeah,
accountability.
because they're like, why did I just spend a few $100 and not do anything? Let me at least implement what this person told me to try and see how it goes.
Right. Oh man, Manny, well, I appreciate your time. And I know, like you said, you're a busy man, and so I'm glad we didn't have to pay for this interview. This is great.
No, no way.
But yeah, thanks so much. And then we'll put all the links in the description. You can also find me and Jeremy. You know where we're at, but we'll have that in the description as well. Thanks again. And for anyone listening, comment, like, subscribe, and let us know if you have any other questions about business or that you want to reach out to Manny for. Thanks again, Manny. Appreciate it.
No
And thanks,
problem.
Jeremy,
Thank
for
you.
being the best co-host.
Thank you guys.
All right. Peace out, guys.